So let's get started. First of all, before we start with the lesson, today we are going to start with a new reading comprehension skill, which is one of the most important skill, which is the figurative language or the figures of speech. Before we start explaining this skill, we are going first to explain what do we mean by literal and what do we mean by figurative. When I say that this word is a literal word or literally, it means that this word functions exactly as defined. Like when I say the car is blue. So blue is a word that defines exactly what the car is. When I say he caught the football, it means I am exactly meaning that he really caught the football. But when I say that this sentence or this word is figurative, it means you have to figure out the meaning from the sentence. Like, for example, if I said, I've got your back, it doesn't mean that I'm holding your back or I am like catching you from the back. No, it means that I am next to you. I've got your back. It means I am protecting you. Same if I said you're a doll. Doesn't mean that she is literally a doll. She is really a doll. No, this means that she is like a doll or she looks like a doll. So here, what do we call figures of speech? We are going to explain three figures of speech today and three kinds: the simile, the metaphor, and the personification. First of all, we are going to start with the simile. The simile is a direct comparison between two things or people or places and so on, but resembling each other in at least one aspect, which means that they are alike in at least one thing or one factor. In order to use similes or to write a simile, there are tools to write it, which are as, like, and as. I will explain how as. Let's see. It is a device, first of all, why do we use a simile? The simile is a device of art and explanation, and it is used to compare unfamiliar to some familiar things. Let's see the examples. The history paper was as tricky as a labyrinth. So as tricky as. So I'm comparing the history paper to a labyrinth. Let's continue. The second example, at exam time, the high school student was as busy as a bee. So here I'm comparing also the student to a bee. So in the simile, we are comparing
Let's see the
two
metaphor.
things,
The metaphor
but
is an
using
indirect
as or
comparison.
like.
As or
We
like.
compare two things, but without using as or like. Why do we use metaphors? We use it to arrest that one thing and is another thing, not just like the other. It gives clearance. It gives it explains by making the abstract or a non-concrete and familiar, and it affirms by showing a relationship between two things seemingly to each other. Let's see the example. She is fishing in troubled water. The troubled water here means that the water is dirty, okay? But did I use as or like? No. He drowned in a sea of grief. I'm comparing the sea to a grief, okay? Did I use as or like here? No. She is a moon. She is a doll. Am I using as or like? No. So in metaphors, we do not use as or like. Personification. Personification is when we use human attributes or human feelings or behavior or characters and borrow it in order to give it um, to the animals or things. It functions primarily as a device of art, and it can often serve to make an abstraction clearer and more real to the reader. Ideas can be brought to life by personification, and objects can be given greater interest. If you look at the examples, the sky weeps. When we say the sky weeps, means cries. So does the sky cry? No. Persons cry, people, human beings. So I borrowed this action from human beings and gave it to the sky. The shadow of the moon danced on the lake. Does the shadow dance? No. Who dances? Human beings, the people, a person dances. So we borrowed this action, the action of dancing, and we gave it to the shadow of the moon. Here there's an exercise, as you can see. We will solve it together during the live session. Of course, you have the answers. And now we're going to start with our reading lesson, in which it tackles the problem of a slow learner and the difficulties she faced. This story is about a student. She is a slow learner, and she has learning disabilities or learning disorders, and she faced many problems. Let's read the story together and see. In elementary school, Carmen Sanchez was often referred to as slow learner by her teachers. However, she wasn't slow at all. She just didn't comprehend the language being used in the classroom, so she didn't understand the language used in the classroom. Her problem wasn't lack intellectual ability, but lack of communication. And as a result, she decided to give it up. When Carmen grew up and had 3 children of her own, the children faced the same problem. They were having trouble because of lack of communication. So they weren't slow learners, they had slow communication. They weren't fluent in the classroom language. Mrs. Sanchez knew that her children were bright, though some of their teachers didn't think so. I didn't take her a lot of thinking to make up her mind and learn English herself as a way of helping them. So she started learning English to help her children. Of course, at the end, she did a master in English. She got a master's degree in English, and she received a college degree. She went on to earn her master's degree in literature also, and a doctorate in education in the University of Houston. So she didn't give up. This is what the story wants to tell us, that she didn't give up. She is now a consultant to Houston Police Academy, and her own accomplishments, however, are not nearly as gratifying to her as the success of her children. So the success of her children means a lot to her. We have many comprehension questions referring to paragraphs 1 and 2. What common problem did Mrs. Sanchez share with her children? Both of them had the problem of lack of communication. According to paragraphs 2, 3, and 4, how did she manage to help her children? She learned the English language, she didn't give up, she worked hard with them, and so on. With reference to paragraph 5, what career accomplishments did she carry out in her life? Of course, she did many things. We mentioned them in paragraph 5, and so on. Here we have cause effect. We have to refer to the paragraphs, and as you can see, we have all the answers in the lecture. We explain them together through the live sessions.